Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of VALK Talks. This is, we're talking about Do You Know Your Constitution? And with us, we have Jenny Kanari, who is one of our wonderful hosts. We also have Andrew, who's going to be joining us in a second, and also myself, Jazz Mistri. And thank you, all of you guys, for joining us today. And also for those of you who are going to be watching later on, we say hello, hello, and welcome, and thank you. So Annie, could you just take us through a little short summary of what's been happening last 2 weeks, so that we can have a small recap and then we can get into it. Over to you.
Great, thank you. So yeah, this is the 3rd episode. We're building up on how much we know about our constitution, how much we really understand about the role we have in the governance, the direction, the choices, the policies of the country. Given that the constitution is a social contract between all of us as citizenry, sovereign citizens, people of Kenya, and the elected leaders who serve us in the capacity of making sure that the guidelines, the rules, the decrees that are in the social contract are actually held out, protected, even written in, so that what we need is recognized, policies written around them, so that we can get all the beauty that provision, wealth, resources that Kenya has. So that's been the focus for the for this season of the VALK Talks, because we talk a lot about the mismanagement, the frustration, the lack of recognition, constantly fighting for people to understand that when we ask for a certain amount, it's worth it. We bring our best game, but we're constantly finding people who don't want to pay. Even if there's a red card, they want to undercut you. The corruption conundrum in Kenya. They want you to pay to give you a job, even though you've had a relationship with them, perhaps. So taking a proactive position as a voice talent who is now better armed with understanding that I need to understand my role, function in it, so that I can answer some of those questions and avoid having them, or be more equipped at handling them without getting upset, so that at the end, I'm happy with the result and I haven't lost a client because I lost my cool, or I didn't understand their role in it, or their lack of knowledge even about constitution, or in our context, the contract that itemizes now our, how do you call it, what it is we're going to do, the rules of engagement for this particular product, this particular service, this particular project. So that's what this is about. This is a place where we can ask questions, talk about areas where we have experienced that, and come to see where perhaps doing a little bit more research, having a little bit more knowledge, going a little slower on saying yes to any project helps protect you, so that moving forward, you're more skilled at negotiating, and even ultimately never needing to go to another representative to mitigate on your behalf. Which, just to end there, is where I'd like us to get to, where because you know what you're doing, you never, or you very rarely have to get to the point where you can't come to an agreement with the person you're talking to. And knowing that the Constitution backs you up is a backup, it's like a big brother behind you, but I'm good. I know how to handle myself, I know how to negotiate, I know how to talk about amending contracts calmly, and because I know that I know my stuff. And even though there is room to invoke a third party, a lawyer, let's go to court, that is a very distant place to get to, if you ever get there, if we handle this first part well. And so some of the words we're going to look at, reminding ourselves who we are as sovereign people of Kenya, who you are as the sovereign voice talent, the independent voice talent coming into the project. Yeah, will help us move forward and find solutions to these problems. Then we can talk about other things, bigger things. Yeah, so we'll look at the Constitution together. We'll break it down together. We'll demystify some of those words together, and we'll give you some things to go away with so you can do your own research on your own. And come back next week with questions perhaps, or bring something that you took away, you put it into action, and you saw some good results with some work in between.
Thank you. That was such a great breakdown, Lainey. We see Andrew's joined us. Welcome, Andrew. Just before Andrew gets
Thank you very much.
Running.
Yes, I'm glad to be joining you guys.
Yeah, awesome. So just to add on to what the review and the recap, last week we got into some of the topics that we discussed. Was getting into the business without really knowing the business. It's so important to do your homework and understand what your role is in your own life and how you show up. You have to be informed. You have to know and understand what you're getting yourself into. Also, an interesting point, and as I was going over the video last week, was it came from Edward, just understanding that just because you spent a lot of time in the industry doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get paid more. And that's, kind of managing expectation versus reality. You have to, it's not a given like it used to be, saying that, so long as you have experience, then you're just automatically going to get more money. It's not a given. You have to continuously work on your craft, understand how the environment is changing, understand again what's happening around you, your environment, and how the Constitution is affecting your ability to make a decent living. And so we are going to break down the preamble of the Constitution here in Kenya. And we have a link to it. Do any of you have a copy of the Constitution with you? Just a show of hands, you can just show us if you do. If not, we can share a link and we can actually share it with you as we go through it. Very quickly, just taking a poll, anybody? If you need the link, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll be able to post a link for you to check it out. So yeah.
And for those who are silent, and start responding, yeah, please just go ahead and post the link. We know how sometimes people might be scared to say that I don't have it, and maybe they feel silly, but don't feel silly. We're here to plug in the information.
Absolutely.
I'm not Kenyan, and so I have my excuse. But I would still like to have a copy.
Awesome.
I speak on behalf of myself and those who may not like. Yeah.
Thanks, Remy. I'll put it.
Your excuse is only valid for this time, Remy.
You're now honorary.
Why? I thought you were my friend. Why?
Yes, yes.
We're in public. This is something you call aside. You like the old man. Hey,
right.
No.
In fact, you are our super duper VIP member. That's why we have to show that even our VIP members can be vulnerable, and we assist them. We don't step down on you to continue eating that, but this is how we support those who need help.
Right. So we also have, like Annie said, we've got the Constitution definitions that we will be referring to as we read through the document, so that we can grasp what exactly is the terminology that is being used. Sometimes, you'll go through the Constitution and you read a document, you have no idea what words mean. and it can be quite embarrassing to ask, especially since we're all adults. But we're trying to break that. We just, it's important to know. So we've broken it down as, and we're ready to, really get into it. But for now, let me just share with you the link to the preamble, which we'll all go through. And we'd love for this to be an interactive session. So Andrew, do your thing, identify those who can read out aloud like we used to do in class. Prepare your voices. We're going to be asking some of y'all to read this with us. So y'all's. 1 second. I believe this is the correct one. Can y'all see it?
Yep.
Yes, we can
Yep.
see it.
Awesome. So who are our peoples? Who are our volunteers? Oh, Jerry, nice. Nice. Remy, awesome. And Edward. Okay, so you can, I guess, take 2 each, 2 lines each. Jerry can start, then Remy, then Edward.
Good afternoon, voice artists. Here is the Kenyan Constitution preamble. We, the people of Kenya, acknowledging the supremacy of the Almighty God of all creation, honoring those who heroically struggled to bring freedom and justice to our land,
Okay,
Remy.
allow me to add something, please. Since we are voiceover artists here, let's please say it with more heart. This is just not reading a textbook like we're back in school. So that's just my request. So Jerry, please read those sentences with the life and energy that those sentences possess. And Remy and Edward, I know you can do the same too. Thank you.
all right, yes, sir. We, the people of Kenya, acknowledging the supremacy of the Almighty God of all creation, honoring those who heroically struggled to bring freedom and justice to our land,
Go ahead and read one more line, Lucy.
proud of our ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity, and determined to live in peace and unity as one indivisible sovereign nation.
Nice. Remy.
Respectful of the environment, which is our heritage, and determined to sustain it for the benefit of future generations. Committed to nurturing and protecting the well-being of the individual, the family, communities, and the nation.
Thank you. Edward.
We can't quite hear you, Edward.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Edward.
Are you present?
We see your mic moving, the sound, but we don't hear you.
Try, if you're using earphones, try unplugging the earphones and then plugging them back in. See if that'll make a difference. Or try unplugging them, speak so that we can see if we can hear you, just to make sure we're not having any issues. And if in case we still can't hear you, you'll need to log off and then re-click on the link again. That tends to reset the audio. Thank you.
We lost him somewhere.
Ah,
Oh, there he is. He's back.
there we go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
I hardly know what happened.
No worries.
Yes, we can hear you now.
You're back
Wonderful.
now. That's good.
So we're going to give you a segue. Remy,
All right.
if you're still there, do
Well,
one. Go
One
from,
more.
yeah, give us committed and recognizing, and then Edward can do exercising and all the way to the end.
All right,
God bless
excellent.
you.
Committed to nurturing and protecting the well-being of the individual, the family, communities, and the nation. Recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans for a government based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law.
Exercising our sovereign and inalienable, exercising our sovereign and inalienable,
Inalienable.
So just throw your shoulder into it. Inalienable.
Inalienable.
inalienable. Where? Exercising our sovereign and inalienable right to determine the form of governance of our country and having participated fully in the making of this constitution, adopt, enact, and give this constitution ourselves and to our future generations. God bless Kenya.
God bless Kenya.
Yeah.
God bless Kenya.
Very nice.
We had, once we had gone through this document, we had a bit of a debate as to what it actually means. And so Annie, would you like to share some of the thoughts that we came up with?
Yes, sure. So for one, this is the preamble to what's going to follow, to now the rules, the laying out of what it is, the laws that now cover our land. And if you look, you see that it's we talking to ourselves. So it's like even without a constitution, this is just what is natural to being people who live together in one common space. And then it ends with the constitution to protect us. Yeah. So if you look at it, it's we, the people of Kenya, we acknowledge that the Most High is supreme. So we are a religious people. We're, well, not religious, but we're spiritual people. We honor those who heroically struggled to bring freedom and justice to our land. Andrew brought up, this is definitely the freedom fighters, but it is also our fathers, our grandfathers, those who are here before colonialists came, but definitely, which was a main part about it, we would, yeah, we honor them, we think about them, because this document, this thinking of ourselves as one common people isn't something we brought upon ourselves. It was given to us by the colonial master, the imperial, the British, who came in 1885, 1884. They created Kenya, and now all the sovereign Kambas, all the tribes, Kikuyus, Luos, Mijikenda, now are in one common space called Kenya. And so we recognize that as being the new setup for us. And so we think about those people who fought to free us from colonial rule, to bring freedom and justice to our land. We think of them, we honor them all together. We're proud, the next line is the pride for our ethnicity, our different cultures, different religious diversity. And in acknowledging that we've lived together, we continue to live together in peace and unity as one indivisible sovereign nation. So we've accepted that we are now Kenya, one Kenya. We're respectful of the environment, which we must respect. That's where our food comes from. That's where we live. That's where our building materials, that's where we share. Giving of what we can do to help one another to live, to grow, to expand, to experience life. So we enjoy it because the people who are here before us took care of it. We're doing it for the children who come from us. And we're determined to sustain it for the benefit of the future generations, like we are from generations past. We're committed to nurturing and protecting the well-being of the individual, the family, communities, and the nation. Because guess what? The nation is made up of communities, the communities is made up of families, and the family is you, me, the rest of us. So if I don't take care of you, and it goes on like that, there goes the nation. So it's in my interest to take care of my neighbor so that the nation, at the end of the day, is taken care of. So it's my role to nurture and protect you. Nurturing has, by the way, within it, an educational component. Yeah. Recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans this is where it began to get dicey.
Yeah.
And Jazz was like, I don't know, did I?
I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah. Recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans for a government based on the essential values of human rights, equality, I'm not sure what, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. So it is at this point that the Constitution begins to ingilia itself, to position itself, as an authority and a presumption that we did actually agree to it. We had this discussion that we do want a government, that it's based on the essential values of human rights. See, some of these norms, these terms, just by being alive, I have rights. Equality is one of those very loose terms that has allowed us to now talk about gender fluidity. So, but yes, equality is an equal sharing or an equal ability to contribute, speak. Freedom is a given. Democracy, I don't know that that's something that is helping anywhere in the world, but this is what we have been born into. Social justice is presumed that there is social, everyone enjoys justice, and the rule of law, which is very, very loosely thrown around in this country, and supposedly guarded by the government. So from this point, recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans, we're gonna look at that a little deeper. Yeah. Aspirations for this government, exercising our sovereign and inalienable rights. That word, inalienable, it's one of those nice words. And inalienable rights to determine the form of governance of our country. Yes. Which is a given. If I'm here, I really should be exercising contributing to the way the country goes forward. Exercising my sovereign, and no one gave it to me, and no one can take it away. That's what that word means. It can't be alienated from me, to determine the form of governance of our country. And having participated fully in the making of this constitution, again, that's a big question mark. Even though we have a 2010 constitution, supposedly the new one, it's very much based on one that was inherited from the West. So sometimes, when the constitutional reform question comes up, it's important what we're going to talk about where the constitution really falls in terms of your life, this point. is going to be, we look at it a little deeper. And then the last one, we adopt, enact, and give this constitution to ourselves and to future generations. Again, it presumes that as a Kenyan of a certain age, you've agreed to this. And to tell the truth, it is the way the system has been set up. When you turn 18 and they say, yay, come for your ID, and you sign on that ID, this is what you're signing that you've done, that you do recognize the way the country is run with the present government and the constitution, and that you are adopting and acting and giving this and agreeing that this is a constitution that we all agree to and bequeath to our future generations. So in terms of sovereignty, which is where we're going to go next, I think, it helps diffuse the fact that you were not really given an opportunity to say, yes, I agree, and I do recognize, and I do adopt and enact this, which is presumed as a citizen born in Kenya today, automatically you accept all this. So unlike some nations where there's room to debate constitutional law, this isn't something that is done in Kenya. Yeah, so these are some of the things we're going to talk about and try and demystify and see if it is something we need to fight or try and just understand it and see then how we can work with the existing presence of the Constitution until we can, this is my hope, we can have a nation that is so free that I can live, and maybe this is the point I can get to, I can live as a sovereign citizen, because sovereign means to be above law, above rule. I can live above a constitution which presumes I might break the law, because I'm constantly in charge of what I do, with whom I do it. I'm protective of that environment. So I don't need the constitution as such, because I'm never at its behest. I'm never at the point where I need someone to tell me how to live my life and control what I do, because I do it already. Yeah.
So, I found that really interesting, that last point that you made, because it's something that I'm trying to wrap my head around, because it hasn't been my reality as a young person who is, supposed to now adopt, enact, and give this constitution to myself and to my future generations. I'm still grappling with wait, where did I sign? You mean tell me I'm supposed to be doing all of this at 18? Like, nobody explained any of this to me, and I did not agree also. I think most of us are the same. Like, the part where we're talking about recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans for a government, first of all, based on essential values. It kind of made me think, how can we be sovereign and yet be clumped together as a nation? It's a difficult one, because we have to deal with ethnicity issues, cultural issues, and religious diversity. It's a very, very tall order, what this constitution proposes, because back in the day, again, like you said, Annie, it presumes that we're all okay with this. But as you will know, different cultures live different ways. So, I want to be free to do whatever it is that I want to do as a sovereign human being. But then it says that we're free to do that, but then within certain limitations. So therefore, it's like, am I really free? Am I? Because if somebody wakes up one morning and is like, I don't feel you should be able to do that, then now we have to, and we can't agree amongst ourselves, then this is where the Constitution comes in. And so I feel like, how can I be chill, about this? So when we started looking at chapter 1 of the Constitution, this is the articles within it. And it's a pretty short one. And Andrew, do you have anything you'd like to add? You had a very interesting take on this.
Yes, even as you were sharing about that, I think we need to all recognize that when we come into the world, we don't come into the world alone. We come into a family. And obviously, being a child of the family, all your needs are catered for. So it's very easy to be very individualistic. But I think what the Constitution, regardless of where it came from, who made it, recognizes that even though as an individual, you are sovereign, that individual basis, the reality is no human being exists alone in a vacuum. Every human being exists in relation to other human beings, whether it's in business. In fact, no one has a business if you're not interacting with another person. So in the Constitution's wisdom, they recognize that there's going to be diversity. There's going to be different ways of thinking. And it attempts to address the lack of balance, especially in the third part of the preamble, peace to all. So if we think of the opposite of peace, that means conflict, fighting. Fighting is something that is there even within a family, even within an individual that is sovereign. They're always fighting against their thoughts. So at the end of the day, if you as an individual, you can cater for yourself, the reality is you might need to, not you might need, it is your responsibility to contribute to the society that allowed you to enter this earth, because you're here through a tribe, you're here through a village, whatever it is, whatever the name. All of those people that came before us have put resources that we can take advantage of, that we are also responsible for. So I think the Constitution is just an attempt to show our participation, that the reality is no one can do what I can do. And if I'm given a special, look, I don't need to be given a special place to execute what I need to execute. But let's say if I am a specialist in creating, let's say, voice over roads, for example, and no one else can create voice over roads, then it behooves me to participate in the economy that way. So that's what the Constitution was just attempting to bring, that all these diverse talents from different people in an attempt to coexist in one village, if I can say that. Yes, thank you.
Nice. I appreciate that. That is, yeah. So, you know, when you were talking, and it made me think about the online work that we do, right? In a way, that's another nation, if you will. That's another space where, and which there is no real constitution. If you know, what I'm trying to say is, stop my video. Yes. The Constitution, by its very existence, came because the West needed a country, and all the countries, every country that they colonized, that they took over, they needed them to function according to a specific way answerable to them, right? Because before they came, each tribe or each community or even each family, like you mentioned, had their own constitution, if you will, where your parents, recognizing the individualism, the different abilities and skills of each child, should allow you to express that within the norms of what protects the home. So those are moral values. We take care of the space. You can fight, but not to pull out eyes, you know, learn how to protect yourself. Within what parents, that's the role of the parent, to make sure that these children are able to guide their thoughts, overcome their childish outbursts, participate in the family's growth, contribute. Everything that makes a person, as you grow, is the role of the parent. And then the home isn't alone. It could be, but usually it's within a community. So when you expand to that community area, now there's certain norms, and communities form based on similar beliefs and similar values, right? So that's why we did have our specific tribal communities, if you will, and even amongst them, there were specific communities which were functioning very well. When they brought to us this constitution, which is, we're not fighting it, we're not knocking the constitution, it is here. We just want to see how something that came with a mindset of keeping us and the rest of the empire manageable by one head, and putting presidents and management boards called parliamentary people, seats, who speak, you know, and even it actually makes you understand why the interests of parliament is not yours, it's the higher body, because they were actually positioned for them. So even though they represent us, the way your big brother would represent you to dad, they answer to someone else. You understand? Which begins to make you see how we have so many issues with this governance system that we have adopted. It's because of its origin. And we spoke about whether the British, who don't even have a constitution themselves, when they had problems, the closest thing they came to a constitution was something called the Magna Carta, which was when the king was beginning to impose his rulership on the barons, the lords of their own huge lands. They drew a line and said, no, not on our land. You cannot tell us what to do here. But recognizing that when France attacks England, we all need to defend England. There were places where we will contribute men and food to the war effort for that period. And you can direct that as one head. The king becomes the what do you call it, the military leader. We control the people we bring, but we answer to you for the war. And when there's no more war, we all go back and take care of our huge pieces of land, which we manage according to how we do it, because it's our pieces of land from time immemorial, or we fought for it and gained it, which is a superior way of being. But they needed to have a document that, you know, rules of engagement. And it was fought and fought and fought and fought and fought because of that tug of power. So the Constitution, we want to demystify it amongst ourselves to be able to honor it, but see it for what it is. And when Remy gave us an amazing insight to it, that the Constitution, yes, even though it came from the West, we've already begun to do it. The 2010 referendum was efforts to try and Kenyanize it more. And the way it works is constantly, as people agitate for something, these things create the new, they're called recessional papers, and they become acts, and they become ways to help those people gain from what is their right, inalienable right, to that service, or to enjoy that element of the country, which we hadn't seen was a problem because they hadn't asked for it. So Remy showed us that the Constitution is reactive. It's not punitive, it's reactive, but there has to be enough noise about it. There has to be an awareness that it needs to react to this need, which hitherto it didn't, like our marriage. The West didn't recognize polygamy, so the Constitution didn't have it. We were having problems on the ground. Women, the third, fourth, fifth wife, when they go to law, they're not recognized because the law is based on the Constitution. But Kenya recognizes polygyny or polygamy problems when we come to the law. So they changed it and said, now the law recognizes polygamy, certifies it, and the policies were written. How many years? This was like 4 or 5 years ago, of Kenya's existence, of polygamous existence and marriages. But there was enough pushback, enough problems. The courts were overridden. The courts were now saying, can we do something about it? The lawyers were saying, too many women now in problems, creating more problems for the family, so we need to do something. And that push caused what was already happening in the land to be put into the constitution, to be made into law, so that it could function as some guideline. So the point comes with starting to know what you need. So you have to be functioning in it as adults. So we're not children anymore, daddy, mommy telling us what to do. We're engaging in the marketplace. We're seeing what isn't right. We now have a body where we can talk about it, and we can begin to put it into language that can be heard. That this is something that isn't in the Constitution, or like we're finding, it was already in the Constitution. We just hadn't looked to see that when we now have those problems, we're actually on the right and can speak it with more courage into those situations. Yeah.
Does anyone have a question so far as we're going through this? Or any comments that you might have, or any insights that you might have? Are you still there is also another question that maybe I should ask.
We are here.
Awesome. Okay. All right.
I have a question. Are you finding this helpful?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Yes, it is helpful.
Is that Wanjiko or is that Pauline?
It was Wanjiko, it was me.
Ah, okay, nice. Brian, is this helpful? Seeing as it's just us here. We're amongst friends.
So far, I mean, so far so good. It's, I mean, it's also a learning process for me. There's some things that we tend to, how do I say? You know, those obvious things we think that they're so obvious, but they're not. So yeah, I believe at the end of this, I will have a deeper meaning of what the Constitution is, and as we're going through the preamble.
Nice.
All right, so everyone, you've been hearing what's been going on so far. Just one sentence, each and every single one of you. What have you gotten from the preamble and what you've discussed so far? Let's go alphabetical so you know who you are. Yes, we start with Brian, then Pauline, then Edward, then Wanjiro. Yes, Brian?
Also, if
you
we
know,
could
we're
see
trying to-
you, it'd be great. It would be awesome.
Yes, please.
Well, today's gonna be a bit tricky with my camera.
All right.
I'm just sitting in a friend's place where I can just attend the meeting.
Okay.
I'm at a friend's place too.
Brian, why don't you start with telling us where you are?
Oh.
Just because.
Currently I'm in Bangkok.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome. We're just down the road, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, virtually it is actually, isn't
Yeah.
it? All right.
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah, with the internet, everything is just, it's like I'm your neighbor next door.
absolutely.
Is it there in Bangkok?
So would you tell us
One of
your
the
thoughts so
participants in
far?
Bangkok
Could you share with us?
is listening to
I'm trying to come up with another comment other than the one I just mentioned right now.
Mhm. Oh, you had mentioned things being
You know,
obvious.
yeah, I was basically talking about how, you know, how this is important to me because I'm just speaking on a personal level. The Constitution is one of those things that I never really focused on. And when I saw this on on the email and the group, I thought, let me just try and try and understand what the whole thing about the Constitution is. And hearing Jennifer talking about, the sovereignness of being a sovereign nation, the diverse cultures and people how diverse we are, and then coming together, being one. And then now bonding all this with now us being voiceover artists, it really opens up a new dimension of, the game itself.
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true. Because like, if we're supposed to be together as one, then, and I'm supposed to take care of my neighbor, even though they're of a different, ethnicity or religious background or things like that. If I want to protect their sovereign rights, then as a voiceover artist, that comes down to now, okay, am I willing to voice this particular script that is hate speech, or, it goes against somebody else's alienate that right that none of us can say right now. But that's how it kind of clicks, at least for me in my brain, how do I respect myself and others with the work that I do? That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. What about you,
Yeah, and I
Edward?
mean, like,
Oh, sorry, go on.
oh, sorry. I guess it's more of, it clearly states, the rights, responsibilities of every individual. It clearly talks about what you stand for and what you can do to make, the nation become one. Well, this has been talked about quite a lot, but this is just on a personal level. So it's like I'm in school, so this is what I'm learning.
Thanks for
You
sharing.
can take the floor.
Much appreciated. Thanks, Brian.
I'll work on maybe a video, or maybe on next Friday,
We're
or maybe
ready.
along the way.
We are ready for your video. Please join us. We are very, very, very excited to have you join us.
No problem.
Yes,
How
I
about
think
you,
next is
Oh,
Edward.
sorry. Yeah.
Edward, yes, go ahead and meet yourself, and let's try and have 1 minute. So I know you guys, this is take your time to put your thoughts together. So now when you're with your time, boom, you can just nail it. Go ahead, Edward.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, so about the sovereignty of an individual within the Constitution is one thing that I'm trying to comprehend on being as an individual. How are you a sovereign person, but still under the Constitution? So what is it that you can? What borderlines can you go as far as your individuality is concerned? That's one question that I had, and the rest, it's quite insightful because I haven't focused on the Constitution for a long period of time, which we totally assume that all of us are aware. So when politicians are quoting like section what, they look so learned or something. So that's my take.
Thank you very much for that, Edward. In fact, the interesting thing is, when they're having a meeting for this specific day, they know it's going to be around this particular topic. So they have the booklet of the Constitution on themselves. So they just read it up ahead of time. So they just look clever. So don't worry. And also your question is going to be answered in this chapter. So just hang on for a little bit. We got you. That duality between your privileges and what the state or the government is supposed to do and how our relationship is with that. So we're going to answer that question.
Okay.
Yes, up next, I believe, is Pauline. Pauline, please unmute yourself and see your beautiful self and share with us your 1-minute insight on how things have been so far.
Let me just find my video 1 second. Sorry for that. Okay. So, hi, sorry I came in late. But what I do get from all of this, which is quite interesting, is that we need to know the Constitution to actually find out what our rights are and like engage with it. The more you know, the more you can do, the more you can enjoy the freedoms that are actually there. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's what I've got so far.
It does make sense. And thank you for sharing that. And that's what we are on the journey of doing. That once you know the sections that apply to you in whatever situation, if someone violates your rights, then you know what to do. You're not gonna cry and just say that, oh, my environment or the government doesn't care about me, what have you. You know what to do. Thank you very much. Yes, Wanjiku Mweriki, please unmute yourself and see your beautiful self and do share with us your 1-minute insight.
That makes me a bit nervous. Intro. Okay. Wow. Let me first make a comment. When I was growing up, I always wanted to meet Barry White, and Brian sounds almost like him. For a moment, I thought he was the one who has joined the meeting.
Your dreams are very valid.
Very. But anyway, it's interesting to learn about the Constitution. It's sad that we sign for that ID without knowing what really we are signing for and about, and how the Constitution works for me as an individual and for my whole family. Me learning about it's like what Jenny was saying. It's like having a big brother who's protecting you. So it's having that you've always had this like a gun, or what do they call it? A bulletproof vest, but never using it. This is how it feels for me as we're going through the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I see that, yeah, it's important to know what you got so that if a situation or circumstance comes against you, you know you have the necessary protection and ammunition you need to deal appropriately and accordingly with the force that is needed against that threat or opportunity. Yes, we have Lucy and Jerry. You've been with us. We're just getting people's just 1-minute responses to what they've heard from the preamble before we jump into the chapter 1. So please, you have your 1 minute. Please unmute yourself and let us see your wonderful video self and share with us your insight within 1 minute. Thank you.
For me, I think it is a proud moment of knowing who I am as a Kenyan. I always say every moment is an opportunity to be an ambassador, especially having had to do some work outside. But sometimes it can be like an ignorant ambassador, not knowing how much how much power do I have to exercise in the jurisdiction that I have been given. But also understanding in a very careful way, sometimes that power is not given, is taken. And so now I have taken it. So thank you for this for these sessions. They've been very enlightening. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that insight. And I believe a famous philosopher once said that the ignorant perish because of lack of knowledge. So that is why one who knows the information that they need for the arena that they need they can show up more powerfully in that arena and participate. So yes, Jazz, I believe you're taking us through chapter 1, or how did you want to do it? Go ahead, Jazz.
All right, okay. So we're ready to move on to chapter 1, and seeing time is really running along. So I was hoping, seeing as you've done it so well, to identify a couple of readers for us, so we can quickly go through the different articles. So we've got 3 articles, pretty short. Andrew, you're very good at rallying the troops. So, and Jenny, maybe you can guide us as we read through.
All right, whoever has not spoken is going to speak. So I believe Shugi Lapi, you just joined us. Brian, okay, Jerry, you spoke. So let's go with Pauline. Shugi Lapi, Brian, and Pauline.
Can I?
Sorry, I just joined in.
Yeah.
So I just joined in. I don't know what you asked me to do.
Don't worry, what was...
First, tell us how to say your name.
Yes.
My name is Sugilapi. Sugilapi.
Sugilapi.
Sugilapi.
Beautiful.
Sugi Karibu, I want to just ask
Asante.
Jazz if, we're reading, we're
Mhm.
going through the Constitution, we've done the preamble, and we want to look at what the chapter 1 tells us. But I'd like Jazz just to share, so that as you're reading, you understand what these big words mean. So what is sovereignty, and what is government? So Jazz will take us through this. What is sovereignty? What is government? What is constitution? Just those 3 words, so that as we go through this document together, Jazz, if you're good with it, then as you say the word, it's open. It's no longer just a big word that we don't know what it means.
Can you see that? Just give me a second. I'm trying to get my... Right, so we had, what are the 3 words? Sovereign.
Sovereign, or sovereignty, government, and constitution.
Okay, so the word sovereign, the dictionary definition of the word has 4 different definitions. It's a noun. As a noun, it's a supreme leader, especially a monarch. 2, a former British gold coin worth £1 now only minted for commemorative purposes. As an adjective, it's possessing supreme or ultimate power. And the second definition is very good or effective. The etymology of the word, which is I believe the origin of the word, sovereign, it was the late 13th century. That's when it was created. Is that correct?
What it means when it says that is it began to take on that meaning in the late 13th century.
Yeah.
And then, but before that, it came from Old French, souverain, and what that means. So it kind of, etymology gives you the genesis. It came from here, then became here. So sometimes you'll see how the way we use a word is very, very far from what that word actually means at its origin.
Yeah. Right. And so government means the dictionary definition is 1, the group of people with the authority to govern a country or state or particular ministry in office. The second definition, the relation between a governed and a governing word. So
lovely. I'm gonna give you the etymology of it, just because I'm mindful of our time. Bless you.
Yeah.
So the etymology of sovereign is sovereign. Suver gives us the word super, supreme, superimpose, to be over, to be above. Reign is rule. So to be sovereign is to be above or over rule, is to be above rule in terms of its etymology and what it means. Government, similarly, we do talk about it as a group of people doing what they do. but in its meaning, it's again Latin, it's gubernare mente. That's why we talk about the gubernatorial elections. When we're talking about governors, they talk about gubernatorial. Why? Because that's where the word came from. And gubernare means to control or direct or rule or guide. Mente means mind. Strange connection. So it's to rule the mind, to direct the mind, control the mind in its original format. Awesome. We can move on. And just, I think the next words, we call ourselves a democracy and republic. We use those words interchangeably. Yeah, so democracy is a system of government where we choose elected leaders, but you give up your privileges and your rights for services. Well, actually, you give up your rights and freedoms for privileges and services. And that's what a democracy is. A republic is one, in its word republic, a returning or a connection to the public. So the public reigns supreme. Therefore, a republic government protects the rights and freedoms of its people. It doesn't seek to take them away.
So being a democratic republic is already problematic.
Is already a problem.
Yeah.
The two do not go together. Yeah.
And lastly, we have the Constitution. So the dictionary definition is a body of fundamental principles or established precedents according to which a state or other organization is acknowledged to be governed. Or second, the composition of something.
Good. Yeah. So constituency, constitution, constituents, they all come to what make up something. What's the constituency of the human body? Who are the constituents? So it all has to do with what the jointness of a people, of a thing, and how it works together to be that one thing or one people group. So that's what the Constitution strives to be, is a uniting or common area. It's like the enactment of those common law, common rights, common everything, the policing of it, the policying of it, laying it out, making it happen. That's what the Constitution strives to be. We all belong here. How do we do it together? The eyes do this, the legs do this, the body does this, the feet does this. So you do this, this is where your jurisdiction ends, this is where we share, that kind of thing. Constitution.
That's wonderful, thanks. And we've got about 10 minutes before we get to 5:30, so I'm gonna open it up to y'all. If you'd like us to go through, if you have time, let us know. We can go through the first chapter, or if not, we can always leave this to next week and leaving it open, throwing it to y'all, because we could talk about this for like ever, so you know what I mean.
Put it
I
up.
think because, like you've said, because of time, let's just read the first part of chapter 1, just the first part.
Okay, jokes. The people have spoken.
So, yes, I think what I'll do, I'll go ahead, because of time, I'll go ahead and read it and just have people discuss it for the remaining time. What are your thoughts about it in relation to the preamble? Yes, so chapter 1, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with this constitution. Number 2, the people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. Number 3, sovereign power under this constitution is delegated to the following state organs which shall perform their functions in accordance with this Constitution. A. Parliament and the legislative assemblies in the county governments. B. The national executive and the executive structure in the county governments. And C. The judiciary and independent tribunals. Number 4. The sovereign power of the people is exercised at A. The national level and B. The county level. So
Lovely. Yeah.
after this, all of you who are in this room, what are you getting so far after going through the preamble? And I guess, Jazz, you can scroll back up so people can just take a look at it if they want to refer to it again, a particular part.
Would you
So,
like the
yes.
preamble or chapter 1?
No, just these 4 points over here.
Okay, got it.
So the first part, Kenyans, people of Kenya, you have sovereign power. And it can only be exercised in accordance with the Constitution. Number 2 is you have your representatives who can exercise the sovereign power for you. 3 shows you the 3 bodies, Parliament, the executive, and the judiciary. And lastly is this sovereign power of you, the people, is exercised at the national level and at the county level. So we're going to go ahead and go alphabetically from reverse. So, Wanjiku.
Andrew, can I say something real quick?
Sure. Yes, go ahead.
Just to, so that we slow down a little bit and look at how confused a document can be. In number 1, it tells you that you have sovereign power. It belongs to you as the people of Kenya, and then immediately limits it to the Constitution. So the second part of that statement negates the first.
Mm-hmm.
That's already a problem. The people, number 2, the same thing. The people may exercise their sovereign power directly or through the democratically elected representatives. This works. You choose who you want to speak on your behalf, or you do it yourself. That's what it's saying. Number 3 is saying sovereign power under this Constitution. Already that's a problem. Is delegated to the, so it's telling you they've redefined what sovereign power is to this understanding that your sovereignty is exercised by these delegated state organs. And then they give us the 3 arms of government that we know: Parliament and the legislative assemblies. Those are the lawmakers. Your MPs, that's what they debate. In Parliament, they argue the things so that presumably they who represent all the people come to a consensus before something is put into law. That's their work. So they really need to have some sort of legal knowledge and be rightly representing the people. Yes, but you've bequeathed your sovereign, your over the rule to those people who sit for you in government, in Parliament. Then it tells you in B that the national executive, that's your president, and the cabinet secretaries and all those guys, that they are part of who exercise your sovereign power. And then it tells you, I see the judiciary and independent tribunals also exercise your ability to judge, or your ability to bring people together and reach a consensus on issues. We've bequeathed it to that body called the judiciary and independent tribunals. And then 4, it tells you the sovereign power of the people is exercised at the national level and the national level and the county level, and it gives you back your sovereign power, but it took it away in 2 and 3. So just to bear in mind, again, the Constitution exists when you fail to operate in what is protective of one another, in a one-on-one engagement about anything. If you steal, the person you stole from, you too can handle it. The community can handle it. If you fail to handle it, you then go Yes, I see your question, Pauline. You then can go to a third party, which not necessarily is your representative in parliament. It's your elders, it's your parents, it's the church. If all that fails, then you've actually lost your sovereign power. You've failed to come to an ability that is presumed as a sovereign you can do. So you're now going to this, I want to call it lesser, but you've gone to this other entity that has been created to do these things on your behalf, according to what they say, which often isn't really, then this is where corruption comes in, interests of the people who benefit from there being chaos on the land. This is where it gives room for those things to happen, but it is there for when you have failed. So for me, this is what, I guess this is my comment, this is what chapter 1 is showing, that the Constitution exists for when we, the sovereign people, fail. And then we're limited to what is in the Constitution because we couldn't do it outside of it. Oh, and the last thing, when we introduced governance, the county level, governors now are over the counties. Without knowing it, we're inadvertently going back to a smaller group setting, which is very, very good. So each county can take care of its own needs, its own resources, its own problems, which are really peculiar to it. Highlands have its issues, lowlands has its issues, tourism areas have their issues, dry areas have their issues, and they're the best positioned to take care of them. When you try and do it at a national level, things get diffused. So Pauline had mentioned that perhaps, let me just read her question or her statement. Perhaps this is where our representatives step in to amend the Constitution where its limitations do not serve us or are counterproductive to our peaceful, prosperous existence. They serve us and we have room to tell them what we want as a people. Absolutely, we do. And that is where it happens. But as you may have seen, you have to lobby your guy to go and do it for you. So this is putting power back into your hands, Pauline. Yes, to take these steps and do what is necessary to get your representatives to actually serve in the capacity that you put them there. Or you're doing it on the ground and they recognize, oh, gee, that's happening. We need to put it into law. So your action on the ground actually gets us to this, to where now the laws are beginning to recognize, because there are pockets of people doing it, and it creates some sort of agitation or new, well, not new, but an existence of an exercising of those things that need to happen that the Constitution wasn't mindful of or didn't recognize.
Yeah, I think also, just to add on to what you're saying is, I feel like there's a call for us all to mature mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, as we are doing physically, because that's the only way we, the people, may exercise our sovereign power directly. Because the only reason, like Jenny stated, we would need our elected representatives is when we personally have failed ourselves. Because then you can see the clear limitations when you delegate your problems to another person to represent for you. So imagine a world where we are all agreeing and actually living according to the preamble, where we're respecting, honoring, protecting our environment and all of that. Everyone is doing their due diligence, working as a united nation. We won't really need to rely so much on our representatives. They would be jobless effectively. And see, but what's happening is that we have two things, is that we're not really being encouraged to exercise our own sovereign power directly. What we are being encouraged to do, though, is to seek our democratic, the elected representatives. That's very true. Because most of us, have not gone through this constitution to understand what our rights are. I wouldn't say you feel quite a bit of shame. And then when you get past that and you say, okay, fine, I'm going to start reading it, you realize, oh, okay, so I do have a stake in this fight. I don't have to go and to anybody else to solve my issues. And when I do, I understand that there are limitations to that. That's what I'm getting from just chapter 1, article 1. And if you go down, it gets broken down even more, because it can get a bit, this is where it kind of got me agitated. But then I was like, okay, it's no problem. So long as I understand what my responsibility, what my role is, then I can begin to make small changes and convince other people around me to make those small changes too. That will, if there are more of us, we are more than our representatives. If we all decide that we want to live a certain way, we do have, with just that drop in the water, we can make huge waves of change. So I feel like, yes, we can engage our reps, but I think it's important for us to engage ourselves, because it starts with us, the individual, and then our families, and then it just grows like that. But it's very hard to get to other people. We can't get there from there, is what I'm saying. It starts with us. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that, Jazz. And let me just give my little preamble and then open it up for people just to share their thoughts. What I think, though, is this structure is not a bad structure at all, but it is reflective of how life is. And I can, use the example of a home. If you're the child in a home, yes, you have all the full powers of the house and the resources, ability at your disposal. But the reality is, dad has a huge role to play, mom has a huge role to play. However, those roles are chosen by both, whether it's in the cooking and managing, whether it's bringing in the resources to buy groceries, pay the electric bill, and all these things. Children are not at the capacity yet to be able to do all those things, even though they're enjoying the privileges of being in that house. So yes, you have the full powers of being in that house. But you notice that if you want to start taking on the responsibility of mom to cook for every one of the family, you can only do so at the beginning level, maybe being shown how to cook. And then maybe if you do get a job, you can participate now in buying the groceries. But because it is in the context of the house where other people are involved. And that's where these other bodies are needed, a reflection of that, the enacting of laws to help the environment. So there's a relationship between the parents and the children, and I'm referring to us as the children here. So that's why you see we are told that come to the table so that your voice can be heard, so that you can choose how the direction of this house should go. And in an ideal environment, there is constant communication between the representatives and us, so that anything that is impacting us, they represent it there forward. And that's why you notice the government can do things that we cannot do as individuals. For example, facilitating an economic environment, like building roads, for example. For those of you who are Kenyans, you've seen the impact of Thika Superhighway. No individual can do that, even though you have all the full sovereign power to do whatever you want in Kenya. So the reality is, we have outsourced certain activities to these people in all our spheres of our lives. That's why it's broken down for people to specialize in their area of execution. And so just let's keep that in mind, not to be too antagonistic, although I know we're addressing probably the places that have not been executed well. But when executed well, the relationship between you as an individual and the state and government can be a very fruitful one. Thank you. Wanjiko, I see your hand is up. Go ahead after Wanjiko goes up. Remember, we're going alphabetically backwards, so go ahead and give your 2 cents because right now we are winding down this conversation. And this conversation doesn't end here. Remember to type in your questions in the chat so that on our next session, we do have time to address it. Go ahead, Wanjiko.
Thank you for that. I have 2 comments. One is that in a place where you try to adopt something that belongs, in this case, a constitution that belonged to another community, to try and fit into a Kenyan culture, then it's going to have very many loopholes because now Kenya is made of different communities and each of them deals with their own issues in very different ways. And in the way we've gone through chapter 1, the first bit, you feel a bit confused because you're like, okay, I thought I had the power and then again, I don't have it. And even if I do, it can only be exercised to this amount by these people. So where am I left as Wanjiko? Okay, the second thing is that I've observed in the Somali culture, they don't let things go out of hand or out of the community, that it needs to bring in law, as we call it. An example is I've grown up in a place where there were many of them, and you will find that if there's an issue with one Somali with another, they will look for at least 2 or 3 elders immediately to come and speak to the 2 people who have an issue with each other, or the 2 families that have an issue with the other, and they will solve it instantly before the sun, like before anything goes too far and wide. And that, according to me, is a sense of great maturity and respect, because you can't be able to sort issues and differences unless you know that this does not define you, and also you understand that even this other person has a right to life, to privileges, to everything that is there. And yes, I agree with Jazz. It takes a lot of individual work, growing in every aspect of our life as human beings, to be able to live in an environment and in a place where we can actually approve of the other's sovereignty without feeling like anything is being taken away from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that one, Jigo. That's for that very powerful insight. And that's why, for me, I find the preamble the most powerful part of this thing. So, Jazz, would you just mind scrolling back to the preamble? Number 3, Wanjiko, that's why we need to acknowledge the role of the elders, proud of our ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity, and determined to live in peace and unity as one indivisible sovereign nation. Now, obviously, I'm thinking about this from the individual before thinking about the government first. And look at the number 4, respectful of the environment, which is our heritage, and determined to sustain it for the benefit of future generations. Look at the next one, committed to nurturing and protecting the well-being of the individual, the family, communities, and the nation. So I love the preamble as an individual thing. I'm focusing it on me and I'm directly relating it to what you've shared. Because if I am a young person, or if I am in the role of the elder, then I see my role of, if I see something going out of hand, we take care of it, so that we can live in peace and unity, and that's the way of being respectful to the environment. And is that how it's possibly we're experiencing it currently? Currently not. And hence you giving us the example of the Somalis. So you see, they're giving us an example of how that looks like. So we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans then, as individuals first, how can we duplicate what they are doing for ourselves first? And even as we do that for individuals, how can we now go a step up here in VALK, where all of you are participating here? how can we do this for ourselves here? So it has to be an active conversation. And you see, that's why I ask everyone to give feedback, because your voice is important. We're trying to accomplish a goal here of empowering you so that your whole group is empowered. Whoever you want to define in your group, that's whether it's your direct family, your friends, your workmates, your voiceover industry family, the voiceover industry around the world, and the country. So I'm glad you shared that, Wanjiko. And yes, I think after Wanjiko is Shugilapi. I know you came in late and it's okay. Just share one thing. What are your sentiments about what has been shared up to now? Then after Shugilapi will be Irene. Thank you. Yes, Shugilapi, you're just sharing your thoughts on chapter 1 and whatever you've heard discussed here from your point of view. What are you thinking
okay,
about?
I'm sorry, I'm on the road, but I can take it. On the road, I can take it. Okay. I was very excited by the first point, the way the sovereignty is in the hands of the people, very exciting. And then when the second person said again, the way it almost, the second point almost contravenes the first one, then the excitement died. I thought, so why am I reading this document if it's going to let me get so confused? That's where I am.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, this is a journey of trying to find that delicate balance between our role and the government's role in this. So as we keep on trying to find that balance, let's keep on sharing. Thank you, Shugilapi, for your contribution. Yes, up next is Pauline. Pauline, yes, unmute yourself. Let's see you and share your contribution, please. Thank you.
I think it's very interesting. It seems like we have a lot of power and we vest that power in representatives. So we have to be very careful that we choose like-minded representatives so we actually get what we want.
Wow, wow. Very powerful sentiments, yes. Yes, after Pauline, we have Felicia. Felicia, yes, please unmute yourself. Let's see you and please share your sentiments of what you've heard till now. What do you think about it? And what are your thoughts? Okay, I think, yeah, sorry, I saw a message from Felicia. Okay, yeah, she's not able to contribute, but she's actively listening. Yes, go ahead, Edward Nyanaro. Please go ahead, unmute yourself. Let's see you and go ahead and share your sentiments. What do you think of what you've heard so far? Yeah. Edward Nyanaro, you are on the floor. The floor is all yours. We await your presence. Okay, it seems you have some challenges. Brian, please unmute yourself. If we're able to, if you're in a position to see the wonderful background of Bangkok, let's go ahead and do that and do share what your sentiments are up to this point.
Personally, again, I'm speaking from the point where I'm a human being who has never focused that much on the Constitution. So now, having heard the few pointers that I've heard today, and also basing my answers or comments in regards to the voice industry, I would say some of the results I expect now through the learning that I've got, some of the results I'm expecting through, the implementation of the measures that we have in the Constitution is, as a voice artist, I'm expecting now to enjoy the diverse cultures that we have, and also am expecting respect of culture, being a fundamental human right. And also I'm expecting, protection of intellectual property rights, good governance. Maybe to finish up with maybe 2 points. Also, as a voice artist, I'm expecting enhanced creativity, because if we implement these measures, I'm now given the platform now to exercise my creativity. And lastly, as a voice artist, I'm expecting cultural promotion and the protection of the same measures that are being exercised from the same constitution. Now, these are some of the 2 cents I can say I'm walking away with today, at least from this conversation.
All right, thank you very much for that. Yes, in fact, Brian, you sharing that, something that has just come to mind. What are your expectations from your constitution, but also what are your expectations of yourself in participation? So what are the expectations of yourself? What are the expectations of the constitution? And what are your expectations when it comes to voice over? What do you want? I would like you to meditate on these 3 things and share this either in the chat or in the group afterwards, because it is your expectation that we would like to explore to see how those things can happen. So number 1 is your individual expectation. How are you going to contribute to yourself and to the industry and community? What is your expectation of the constitution? And 3, what is the expectation you have of the voice of our industry? What can we do to bridge the gap between all of these expectations? Edward Nyanaro, I see you're back. Please, the floor is yours, and meet yourself, and let's see your wonderful self. And yes, do share your sentiments of what you've thought so far about what you've heard today.
Hi, it's quite insightful to have learned some few things that I hardly knew about. And one concern that I did have was the same thing as she said earlier. Us seeing our supremacy, and then it's still within the constitution, is quite a disparity in itself. And I think as time goes by, there are things within the constitution that should be changed to be able to ensure that if we are free, we are really free, not just conditionally based off of the constitution. And one of the things that I was actually asking myself is, in our part to, do we actually exercise from the preamble, which says exercising our sovereign and that one, right, to determine the form of governance of our country and having participated fully in the making of this constitution? Do we really participate fully in the making of the constitution is my question. Because since time immemorial, I have only seen whenever we have any constitutional change or amendment, it is then brought to the public. But before then, how do we get to engage in changing some of what we already have as a people? So that is one of the things that I kept asking myself, because as it is already serving the interests of the people who are therein before us and from the colonialists. And another question that I asked myself was, if the British do not have a constitution and they colonized us, and is this constitution serving them or us? Whose interest is this constitution for? You get where I'm coming from? Yeah, so that's the feeling that I have. I totally because get sorry,
you're coming from, and you were having that question. Before we answer that question, so All these questions are powerful.
I think I have a problem with my network. Are you, can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we hear
Yes,
you.
I think it's Andrew's.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, there we go.
Edward, were you done? Looks like his sound has.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Something's happened.
Yes, yes. These are very powerful questions and sentiments that all of you have shared. And remember, this is the beginning of the conversation. So this doesn't end here. It continues in our Facebook group. So please go to the Voice Actors League of Kenya on Facebook. And remember to share the 3 expectations that we shared earlier. The expectation of yourself, what you want from yourself, and number 3, what's your expectation of the voiceover industry? What do you want to see happen? And also, all of you have shared some important points that I would like us to delve more. So for example, this constitution, if it's not ours, how can we find out what kind of constitution our elders had, what we have before? It's easy to say that the colonizers are giving us theirs, but where's ours? So I'd like us to take this week then to investigate. Talk to your uncles, talk to your aunties, talk to your parents if they're alive, or anyone in your direct tribe or even extended tribe. Find out what kind of rules do they have for business, for relationships. How do they deal with conflicts? How do they deal with marriage? All of these things we'd like to try and find out. So that is your assignment for the week.
Could you just give me those 3 questions
And
again?
please keep your questions coming and your comments. Yes. The first one is, what is your expectation of yourself? What do you want, and what do you think is needed of you to participate, for you to enjoy your freedom as an individual and in your environment that you're in? The second one is the expectation of the Constitution. What do you think you need and want? And the third one is, what is the expectation of the voiceover industry? What do you want to see? What do you want to experience? Because we've shared very many sentiments. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a warning right now. This VALK experience. So if you listen to this on the replay, you're also expected to share your thoughts and insights in the comments out of everything that we have shared, because we are going to be doing the assignment with you. We're going to be doing the work with you to find out our freedom. Our freedom lies in our wisdom, in our knowledge of what rights we have, and also in our environment, our own constitution. So I want to thank all of you for being here. Yes, Jazz, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrew. That was just a wonderful breakdown and great assignment that you've given us all. I would encourage you guys to join our Facebook page if you haven't already. It's called the VALK Workshop. You'll find it's a wonderful group where we get to meet up, and you can join members and non-members, and where we share ideas and share resources, and you can learn a lot from the group. And also, this is where we'll be posting some of our videos and clips. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube page and also our Instagram page. And if you'd like to join us, the VALK group of wonderful voice actors, and become part of the league of amazing people, you can just send us an email to voiceactorsleague at gmail.com, and then we'll get you sorted. Yeah. Would you have any last final words? before we vamos?
And before she mentions anything, I just want to remind you that on the 9th to 11th of September, we're having the Voice Over Africa Forum. You have to be there. You're going to be having voiceover talent from all over the world sharing their experiences, and we can learn from them and upgrade our constitution. We can upgrade our expectations and show up forcibly as a voiceover talent to be a force to be reckoned with in this end of 2022 into 2023. Have part of being a successful individual is research of your industry. You're not going to get this from anywhere. Having all of these awesome individuals under one roof, you can learn, and not only learn, you can also network. You can get to have conversations, ask your questions, ask directly, and have the potential to get some work. So you never know what's going to happen. So please, if you are a VALK member, go ahead and send the email to the VALK email to get your discount of, I'm not sure how much the discount is, but I know there's a discount before the time runs out. So it's gonna run out. Go ahead and email the email. Jazz will go ahead and put the email there. If you're not yet a VALK member, go ahead and be a member so you can take full advantage of the discounts. Otherwise, you're gonna pay full price. I think full price is like $50 if I remember correctly. And if I remember, the discounted price for VALK members is $20. So for $20 for 3 days, where can you get the price of getting industry knowledge, connections, wisdom, assistance, mentorship all under one roof? So you know what to do. Send that email to VALK. If you're not a member, talk to Jazz so you can become a member. And we need your active comments. Let us know what you're scared about. Where do you need help leveling up as a voice-over artist that wants to be thriving in your career and in the marketplace? Ask your questions, share the comments in the Facebook group. We have the Facebook group there for you as a way for you to go back and check your history. All your sharing is important. This is how we deal with problems. This is how we deal with awesome tips that can help us grow. So this is your platform of growth. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. We've benefited from your time. Thank you. I really have nothing else to add. This is an ongoing conversation. I've learned a lot also just from hearing the synergy of different people coming together and thinking a little deeper. And so it informs us at the Voice Actors League also about what it is we need to educate one another about. So the feedback is very, very helpful. And just this platform to be able to talk is proving more helpful than I think we had anticipated. And so, yeah, let's continue talking. Do the homework. Think about your expectations. That's a great assignment. Do buy your ticket for the Voice Actors League, for the Voice Over Africa. That offer ends on the 31st of August. So it's not on forever. And I just want to thank Andrew, Jazz, for what you do in the background, what you do while we're all online, and everyone who's participated so openly. So let's keep thinking, let's keep growing, let's keep understanding what it is we do and what it is we're expected to do, so that, I love that, so that we can earn our freedom, if you will. We are free, but you can only enjoy it to the degree that you understand it. So on that note, if I can bid everyone goodbye, yeah?
Yeah.
Please enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, and let's keep talking.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.
All right then.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye. I'll just leave this up a little bit longer in case you want to get any of the information. Very happy. Wonderful. Alrighty then. Thank you and goodbye. Until next week.
Bye.
Until next week, bye-bye now.
All right.